It's always great to welcome Essex artists to BBC Essex, and Halstead's finest, Matt Cardle, is with us with a brand new album. We just heard Desire, and the album itself is out tomorrow. Matt, welcome back to Essex, mate. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
It's lovely to have you on, mate. And I'll tell you what, it's it's funny because whenever I get a guest on the show, I just pop on their Wikipedia page just to have a quick look. And have you seen your Wikipedia page recently?
I know I have. I don't think I ever have, if
well,
I'm honest.
No, go on it, right? And underneath it says, was raised in Halstead in Essex. And there is the worst picture of Halstead you have ever seen. It's raining and everybody looks fed up. They go, I thought, that's not Halstead. What's that about?
No, that really isn't Halstead, especially not when it's raining.
No. I mean, I don't know quite what point they're making. I'm not really sure, but there we are. We'll draw a veil over that. Hey, mate, congratulations on the album, first of all. It's the eve of it, of course. Tell us a little bit about this album, because this is probably your most personal project to date, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You know, it's very difficult as any artist to find themselves in a good headspace to write an album that means something that's relevant to their life, especially at that point in their life. Doing a show like X Factor really rocks you all over the place. It turned my life inside out and upside down and spun me around 100 miles an hour. You know, I really struggled to find my feet again and to find something that I could, apart from, you know, I wrote about, you know, heartbreak, as a lot of us do. You know, that 95% of songs are about love and relationships. And I'd done 3 of those songs. I'd done 3 in 3 years. They had been amazing albums for me. But I really wanted to change. I wanted to write about something else. And, you know, I didn't bring on the dark time that I, you know, encountered in 2014, late 2013. It just happened. It was just part of my life. I reached that moment. And after that point, you know, I sat there, of all places in rehab, thinking, do you know what, this is what my new album will be about. I won't write about it yet because I'm in the throes of it and it's just not possible. But it's, you know, this was something that I could pour straight back into my music and to create this album from that time. Yet you hear it, it's super positive, it's uplifting. It's not a woe is me album, although at the time it would have been had I written back then. You know, it's super uplifting, super positive.
Well, it's like Desire that we've just heard. You know, that is a really uplifting song. But I suppose it's when you start to scratch the surface and listen to the lyrics, you might get an idea of what you were going through and what you wanted to convey at that particular time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing like retrospect and hindsight to put things into perspective for you. And that's what I took the time after I came out and I was clean and sober, and I wanted to, you know, really think about what had happened to me and why it had happened and what was I feeling and thinking at the time. And this album really does chart my journey from, you know, reasonable happiness to rock bottom and then back up again. And you know, there are some songs where it's spelled out black and white. There are some songs where it's quite hidden. You know, there's a song Hallelujah, and you listen to it on the surface, and it's straight up and down. It's a love song, but it's actually about Valium. You know, it's about the time I found something that got me out of how I was feeling, got me numbed to the pain that I was going through. But it's hidden within those lyrics.
Yeah, and it's an extraordinary story, yours, because it was 8 years ago that we saw you on TV, and When We Collide crashed into the charts, and it was an amazing time for you. And I would imagine at that time, quite a lot to take on. It was all happening all at once, wasn't it? It was very fast.
Yeah, it was. And I mentioned to someone the other day, it's such a strange starting point for anyone's career, because suddenly half the country knew who I was, but I hadn't had an album out. I hadn't even had a single out at that point. So all the fame was kind of arse about face, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
It was very topsy-turvy. Usually you have a song and you don't know, who's this? There's some mystery in there, rather than being someone that, you know, so many people knew who I was, but nobody had heard any music. And then it's a real kind of backwards journey to find yourself and to convince people, or to show people that you are an artist. You always were one, but this show has turned you into something quite different.
And it must have been quite confusing because you'd already been in a couple of bands by that time as well, hadn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. I always have been an artist. I always have been a musician. And then again, like this show, it really changes you, and it changes you in front of the public, in the public eye. And it's a really tricky thing to navigate and to maneuver in, through, and around. And that's why I think it's taken us this long to get to a point where I have an album like this, like I explained earlier, and standing on my own 2 feet, back on Sony Records. The first album after X Factor, that you get signed to Sony because that's part of the deal, that's part of the prize. So I think, having left Sony so publicly and then being able to go away and write this album and then get back on the label off my own merit from these songs was sweeter for me than winning the show, if I'm honest.
I'll bet. And of course, you've got some wonderful collaborations going on here as well. I mean, some big names there.
Yeah, no, I've been working with some absolutely incredible songwriters and producers on this album. Jim Elliott, just to say, he produced or exec produced the whole album. He'd been working with Ellie Goulding just before, Kylie Minogue, Will Young. His pedigree is superb. Once we were back with Sony, this opens these doors again. To get to work with these people, to get them to produce your album, and to get it sounding the way that it does now.
And of course, in the writing process of this album, you were in the West End at the time. You were in Memphis.
I know, yeah.
So I mean, that was a big moment for you. And I'll bang the drum for you because you received the Best West End Debut Award, which is, it's a fantastic thing, isn't it? So that must have given you such a push, such a real sort of a spurt of confidence, shall we say?
Yeah, it really did. And it came at a time when, believe you me, I needed one. I'd been out of rehab about 6 months, and I was really trying to find. I was sitting there thinking I'm never going to make any music again. I was really debating what I needed to do with my life, and I was always going to be music. It was always going to be music, but I just didn't see how at that stage of the game it was going to be. And then Memphis came along, and really it did so many wonderful things for me. I can't begin to describe them all. Beverly Knight, to get to work alongside her every night, and Rachel John, and the entire company and crew there at the Shaftesbury Theatre was just phenomenal.
How did it feel the first time you trod the boards on that? It must have been absolutely nerve-wracking. I'm just guessing.
There's one thing going out on the X Factor live show in front of 19 million people and singing one song for 3.5 minutes. I had to be on stage for an hour and 50 minutes non-stop and learning, off inside my head about 10 songs and an entire show's worth of script. This character that I played, Huey Calhoun, he was on the entire time, 11 minutes off out of a 2-hour show. He totally drove that thing and was non-stop yabba dabba dabba dabba. It was just so much to take in, and if you lose it, you lose it. These people have paid good money to come and see you. You can't just go, sorry a minute here, what was it again? You can. At the last line of defense is you will hold your hand up and you'll say, line please, and somebody is up there in the wings folding the pages one by one, following the script, and they are there to go call your line out to you. Thank God I never have had to use it, but it's there. But you don't want to use it,
Have you got any plans for treading the boards again in the near future?
Yes, absolutely, I will do. I mean, there's so much to be done with Time to Be Alive and the new single and the singles 2, 3, and 4, and the tour for the album. But I will definitely be taken to the West End stage again, without a doubt.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about touring as well, because when you're touring an album this personal as well, it must mean so much more to you.
Yeah, it really does. A lot of it was very cathartic writing it, sitting in sessions with people talking about it. It's been a while since the events that have spawned this album, but it just makes it all the more sweeter when you've got people singing back, your songs and your lyrics to you, in these crowds at these shows. There's no other feeling like it for me. And when you've got something so deep and so personal as well, then it just makes it all the more sweet.
Yeah. And do you, obviously you'll be coming to Essex, I would imagine. Do you get back to Essex much?
I do, yeah. I come and see my folks. They've just moved over into the border into Suffolk, but I come back and I hang out with my guys a lot, and it's just nice to come back. And I come through Halstead every time, and it's not gloomy. It's nice.
No, it's not raining all the time in Halstead.
No, it's not.
No matter
people
what
are happy.
Whatever that Wikipedia picture says, it's nothing like Halstead. Honestly, it's not. The other thing that somebody commented to me the other day, and it really struck a chord, was that there's nobody I know who wears a hat better than you.
Oh, bless you.
I don't know what it is. It's just you can wear a hat, Matt. Now, that started with the cap, didn't it, really, I think?
Yeah, it's just about confidence, I find, with hats. I mean, it's one of those things. I never used to wear them, and then, you know, if your hair starts going a bit thin, you bang a hat on. That's just the way things are. But you know what I mean? It's just about confidence. It's about picking it up, stick it on your head, walk out the door. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, well, the next time you come in,
with pride.
you and I will have to go shopping. You have to show me the hat that doesn't make me look like a pea on a drum. You know, because
I will do.
Every hat I wear sort of just lodges itself on the top, and I'm not really quite sure.
We'll do a hat day. Don't you worry about that.
And one of the things that really, with any guest that I have, is in the music world. I always like to do this thing where I say, if I show you mine, will you show me yours? Yeah. So what I want you to do now is just pull out your phone and what you've got chosen at the moment, musically speaking, what you're listening to on your commute and stuff. Mine at the moment that I'm listening to this morning was Black Stone Cherry's new album, Family Tree, which is an absolute belter. What have you got on yours at the minute, Matt?
I've actually got Cloud Busting. Sorry, I've actually got Cloud Busting, Kate Bush.
Oh, what an album! Wow, I've heard that for a while.
Well, it's the whole story. But yeah, the song Cloud Busting.
That's great, because that's one that the Utah Saints took something good, isn't it, from?
That's there's something good is going to happen. Yeah, amazing.
Hey, Matt, I want to wish you all the very best with the album as well.
Thank you so much.
It comes out tomorrow, of course, on all the usual platforms. It does. And I noticed, actually, in fact, I tweeted out a picture yesterday of you holding a vinyl copy.
Yes, gatefold, no less.
Absolutely. When you listen to it back on vinyl, does it make an absolute massive difference?
You know what? I haven't actually managed to listen to this one on vinyl yet, but I think it's the same way that, you know, the way Guinness tastes in Ireland. And, you know, that it tastes over here. Some people can tell, the vast majority can't.
Yeah, maybe it's about the record player you're playing it on as well. For that matter.
Maybe the quality of the needle.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, Hey, Matt, absolute pleasure, mate. All the very best for the album. Thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Take care.
Cheers now. Matt Cardle, great guy, and lovely to have him on the show this afternoon as well. Halstead's finest, and his brand new album is out tomorrow, by the way. It's called Time to Be Alive, and the new single Desire is out now. Watch out for more singles from the album, and when we find out those tour dates when he's playing in Essex, we'll let you know here as well.